I love Shannon's look where she's like, hi.
That one, yeah, that's the look.
Hi.
Hey.
Is it recording? Okay. All right. So welcome to the open house kind of panel class. We have 3 agents here. I'm going to have them introduce themselves. So say your name, where you're from, in regards to office, your role if you're on a team, and kind of production level. We'll start with Shannon.
Okay, so I'm Shannon Sword. I have a team and production level will probably close at about, I think we're closing at 53 units this year.
My name is Dave Fielke. I am on the Graham Smith team, technically, I guess, the lead buyer agent. And I think my numbers are about 87 buyers closed this year. And I think our team transaction.
How many buyers agents do you guys have on your team?
So I'm the only buyer agent right now, but I have a buyer showing assistant. And we have an ISA.
You did 87 buyers solo.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Well,
That's
take
actually,
that-
that's
take that
actually
one
a down year, for myself. I think it was 117 2 years ago and 105.
Awesome. Bethany.
I'm Bethany Nelson. Sorry, I don't have much of a voice today. I lead the Bethany Nelson group out of this office. And I am, the leader, been in business for 12 years. This year we'll do, I think, 89 units.
Awesome. All right. So everybody's here to kind of hear about how you guys do open houses. I'm sure you all do some things that are similar and some things that are different. So I want to go down the line and just say, what do you guys like specifically do for your open houses? Is it door knocking and kind of start to finish? And then as you guys want to share, ask questions, we can open it up that way. Sound good?
Sure.
Okay. You want to start, Bethany?
Sure. I think actually how I kind of want to start is why do we do open houses? And because I think just to do an open house, you're just doing the activity and you're probably not going to get the same result. So we're very mindful when we do them, like what's our intention going into it. We start planning the open house when we go on the listing appointment. So I can pass this around, nothing special. It's just we call it our unique marketing timeline. So we're basically pre-planning, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you want to go active on this date. Our strategy is that we're going to go coming soon on this date. You go active on Wednesday. We're going to do an open house Thursday night. We're not going to allow showings until after the open house. There's a time period where you can be active on the MLS for 24 hours and not allow showings. We take advantage of that. So then what happens is people come through the open house. It feels there's a lot of energy because it's the first showing they can get. And that creates excitement. But going back to like why to do an open, we track our numbers very closely. And so example, Jordan on our team who joined us in July. He's straight from Denver, so has no sphere, no database here. So open houses have been his primary lever to building his business. He went through our launch program, which was 90 days long. No new buyers or sellers signed at the end of launch. I think a lot of people would have tapped out and given up at that point. The next week, Jordan signed 2 from an open that was a month prior. The next week, he signed 3. He signed 2 last night from an open house that he did for Rick Brahma 2 weeks ago. So like he has just mastered, and I'll share what else we do, but like creating the relationship and then staying in touch for weeks or months or however long it takes until he gets the appointment. As far as how do we do them, I kind of shared that we purposely try to, our active coming soon timeline really puts focus on the open. Even though the market has started to slow down, I believe that first time home buyers it's like one or the other. They're either like the market's crap because interest rates have gone up, or there's buyers that are still anxious about what if I don't get a house in multiple offers. We're trying to take advantage of those people that are still anxious and create that energy around it. As far as what do, we promote it immediately online, so it goes everywhere. We do put it in our monthly or weekly newsletters that we send out via email, on social media, sign riders. And then every Thursday, our team goes out in packs of 2 and we canvass or door knock neighborhoods around that property. We have not been circle prospecting, but now with the weather changing, we've talked about doing more circle prospecting than we are canvassing and door knocking. So we also do something a little different where we'll purposely have an hour before the public open house. And we put it on our flyer where we say, because actually Jordan's gotten more listings from his opens than he has new buyer clients, which I think is very interesting. And we do a neighbor only open house for an hour. Because what's great is if those people walk in, you immediately know what? They're from the neighborhood. They didn't see it online, they didn't see it anywhere else because it's not promoted anywhere else. So then the script is just simply, you know, hey, I'm Bethany with the Bethany Nelson Group. You know, you must be from the neighborhood. Where do you live? Because if you can figure out where they live, you can creep on them on the tax records and send them a, you know, a thank you card and stay in touch with them that way.
Did I just say research?
Okay.
Not
Crazy.
crazy.
Whatever. Same thing.
Stop.
I mean, whatever.
Yeah, so that's what we do.
Awesome. Is there any specific script that you use when you door knock, or, you know, when you're saying that Jordan's kind of, you know, connecting with these clients, is there a specific system that you have in place or script for that?
Our script when someone walks into the open house is, you know, first you greet them, you can take a couple steps back. You know, hi, I'm Bethany with the Bethany Nelson Group. Most of the time when people come into our opens, it's because they're from the neighborhood and thinking of selling, or they're looking for the next home to buy. Which one are you? It's not a yes or no question. It's not it's just very pointed to the, but it's not, I don't feel like it's too aggressive either. It's like you're trying to get to know them. And so then it's, oh, well, we're out shopping. We've been looking. The appointment he went on last night, those buyers originally said, yes, we have an agent, but they didn't know their agent's name. So Jordan kept following up with them. And what was interesting is, so then he took it to the next level because all these buyers are looking for is value, right? So he goes, hey, there's actually 3 properties very similar to the one I was holding open that fit the criteria you have shared with me. So he's getting to know what they want as they're walking through the house. And, you know, by chance, would you want to go see them? Well, yeah, absolutely. Well, now remind me, did you say you had an agent or no? Oh, no. We talked to someone. Actually, here's the crazy thing. Someone came out and did a CMA on their home 2 months ago, never gave them a price, never followed up. So they were counting that person as their agent. And he then went on the appointment last night and signed them. So he'll take the listing and the buy side for those people.
Awesome.
Well, I
Right.
find too, I mean, we do a lot of stuff that sounds very similar, which is pretty awesome stuff, but it's funny too when you say that it seems like humans' natural response are to say they have an agent. You know, are you here shopping today? No, no, you're here to buy a shirt, right? You really are. So I feel like a lot of times they may just say they have an agent. So digging in with questions is one of the things I think. So I'm fortunate enough to be on a team where we have people that go out and stomp signs a couple days before the open house. You know, a lot of similar stuff leading up to the open house. Door knockers. We have a
So let's take it through the timeline. Like, let's start to finish
yeah.
with
So
what you guys do.
we'll do the coming soon, and then we have an ISA on our team. So she'll start calling out to circle prospecting around the neighborhood, inviting neighbors. We'll create a nosy neighbor flyer, and we'll actually go similar to what you guys do, and just invite it. I do like that idea a lot of the private hour ahead of time. It's great. So getting neighbors there. We'll do social media blast. And then we have a guy in our team who also will go out and stomp directional signs 2-3 days ahead of time, directional signs for the open house. And then it comes down to whoever holds the open house. So if I'll pick up balloons typically the day of, we put them on the directional signs. I'm a big balloon guy. I don't got a lot of.
I was kidding about that. Are you
Yeah,
serious?
Yeah, I've got a lot of. There's a lot of controversy about the balloons, but
Isn't there a helium shortage right
yes,
now?
there is. Yeah. It's tough.
Well, I saw him in the office right before here and he said, are you gonna talk about the 7 levels? I said, yeah, I'll put the balloons. And then I said, oh, I do balloons. I was
You
like,
do
I thought he was
balloons?
kidding.
And you don't do balloons?
I don't do balloons.
You know, the balloons, we're laughing a lot about the balloons, but really, you know, Bram and I were doing an open house 2 years ago, and he was like, these balloons are a waste of money. And I picked him up, and we had one person that stopped in, and she said, I saw your balloon almost hitting me in the on the street. And she was $1 million buyer. And it was, just sure it could be the circumstance, but there's been too many times like that where it's caught there. It's mainly about catching attention, right? Whether it's one of those Gumby dolls waving or a flag or a balloon, but just getting their attention to come in. So,
Well, and to be fair, how many people see a directional, or if they're like going past it, they see it afterwards? Most people don't turn back around. But if you see a balloon, you look at it and they're like, oh, open house that way.
yeah, especially if it's hitting into the windshield and going on the street. But, so then, then I think Bethany said something that was really important. Then it comes down to the person who's actually doing the open house. And so someone who's just on not on a team and on their own, it does 100% come down to being intentional when you're there and asking the right questions, having a game plan, having the right attitude. I've done very well at open houses, and there's been times where I haven't been in the right mindset, and I've seen could have been clients walk right out, so preparing, for me at least, preparing ahead of time, just getting in a positive mood, whether it's whatever is best for you, meditating, listening to some music, scripting. We do a lot of scripting a couple times a week, our team does. But just, learning to ask the right questions. I've always found that, every buyer needs to be asked the right question. If you can do that, you'll unleash everything you want them to say. And so, and I think you talked a bit about it too, is the follow-up is important. Selling isn't telling. Everyone, says that. And at the same time, that doesn't mean you can't be high energy or be persistent. So by asking the right questions, getting them to engage and disarm, but still staying on them. I try to set appointments right there because, the chances so we do get everybody to sign in at our open houses.
What does that look like?
We just have a sign-in sheet, and
Okay.
sometimes, we don't, it's not like the first thing we do when they walk in. It's usually trying to ask a question that's a little bit direct, like Bethany asked. Are you guys in the neighborhood or just out shopping for a home today? And getting them to answer some questions, feel comfortable with you. But at some point, getting them to sign in. You're going to get pushback here and there, absolutely. But what? Another thing too that I found is important for me is if you're having an off day or if you're not feeling the best, remember this is your open house. It's yours. They're coming to your party, your open house. So try to own it, and it helps your confidence for me a little bit and control it. But just getting their information. But so back to the appointments, it's always important to set an appointment. Can you get their number? Can you have a follow-up call? Absolutely. Now you're chasing them. No, now you're chasing, having them actually answer the phone, respond to an email. So I think the percentages go down. So finding ways to just connect with them. And yeah, so and if you don't, for sure, we follow up Monday, Tuesday. I sometimes follow up the next day. So if it's an open house on a Saturday, I'll follow up on Sunday. Yeah.
What does your sign-in sheet say?
Our sign-in sheet just basically says first name, your name, your address. Are you working with the realtor? How long have you been, or do you own or do you rent? Are you working with the realtor? Just the basic stuff. And then it's countless times where it's the same thing so are you working with anybody? Yeah. Oh, what's your realtor's name? Probably know who they are. It's they don't know the name. So again, it's just asking questions and connecting with them. So
When you say, you have a very short window, they might walk through the house, 5-10 minutes, right? And you have to get to know them in that period of time. You just gave some of the general questions. When you say you have to ask them the right question to get in a relationship with them, what are some examples? And this is kind of open to all of you for that. Like, what are some examples of you asking a question that would let a buyer put their guard down or feel comfortable with you, right?
Well, for me, I kind of also do it strategically in a physical way. So kind of like what you were talking about, I also do door knocking before, and I can talk more about that. But when I'm at the open house, I invite them to come in. I thank them for coming in. And I also ask them, what I want to find out is, so I always say, how did you hear about the open house? Did you see the sign or the ad? Because that's gonna tell you a lot, right? They saw it online versus if they were just driving by. So if they're driving by, oh, so do you live in the neighborhood? But I always ask that question, oh, do you live in the neighborhood now? And then I do ask them questions about, how long have they been looking? Have they seen anything that they've loved? And then I just invite them to take a look around. And then when they come back, I stand in between them and the door. So that, we can connect more and they can't just, scoot out. And, so what was your question?
Like, what questions do you have to ask? I mean, to make that relationship, right? So you said it's more physical.
Okay,
Like, it's how you
Yeah.
arrange yourself to them.
so I just actually did an open house.
I'm just imagining you like standing right between you and them and the door and being like, so what'd you think?
Well, so I just did an open house, probably like a month ago. And I had 4 people through, 1 person came through and, they didn't like the house, but they had just made an offer on a house the night before. They didn't get it and they were super disappointed. And I said, but they said there were a couple other houses they wanted to see that they were interested. I said, well, I'm here till 3. You want to go see them at 3:15? And they were like, yeah. And I went and showed them to them. I said, but here's the thing, if you do have a contract with an agent, I can't, They said, oh, we're going to cancel it. I said, oh, okay. I said, yeah, because I can't show them to you until that you're not in contract. I didn't tell them to cancel the contract. I said, I can't. So they sent an email right away. I showed it to them. They bought one of them and we closed within 30 days. But the conversation was that it was queued up, like, how do I continue this relationship before they go out the door?
Well, you probably asked enough of the right questions before that you uncovered their pain. And
Mhm.
when people are in pain and they're fresh out of disappointment, no offense, there's no better time than for
Seize the
you
opportunity.
to save them. And you might say everything their previous agent said, or maybe not, it doesn't matter. But to be frank, it can go the other way too. Like if you lose out on your client, just know, like, I had a client walk through an open house this last weekend. And I was like, gosh darn it. And it's going to be fine, hopefully. But I've had agents come after me for procuring cause. So my point in sharing that is, like, that's amazing. You created that bond with them. And as soon as you hear they've lost out, that is like the prime opportunity to grow a relationship with someone.
Yeah, and I remember very early on, my manager at the time said, you have to have something of value for them. So when they walk in the door, what is it that you have for them? And at the time, it was just printing out a list. And I still suggest this to people who are doing open houses. Have some properties that are alternatives. The first, I think, objective is to sell the house that you're in, right? Because that's why you're there, to sell that. But if it's not the fit, say, for example, they're looking for a property that's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and this is 3-bedroom, 1-bath. I might be just pulling up properties that are 3-bedroom, 2-baths, or, whatever is the missing link, and say, hey, have you seen these? And then identify some that are vacant. Hey, do you want to go see them? I'm done here. So it's having that opportunity for them. So I guess that would be something where I would try to extend the relationship.
Also, what I'm hearing is you actually time block your day out. If it's 1 to 3, you time block your day out 1 to 4, 4:30 in case you set an appointment or in the hopes of setting an appointment right after that open. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I want to circle back to what you said about the mindset and I'm just giving you a hard time about it because I am like
Easy.
I'm Dave's biggest fan. I mean, what?
Self-proclaimed right now.
Yes,
She is
I know.
Dave's biggest fan.
89 minutes?
Life
Like, that's
changing.
nuts. Hey, if he's selling 89 houses, he's doing something right, if it includes balloons or not, but,
And a helium shortage.
Yeah.
so, but what I would say is, I think mindset is critical. And I think part of mindset is the scripting. And, but also going there with the intention of, like, right, when we put things out there, we manifest it, right? Like, I'm doing this open because I want a sale. So if it's this house or it's another house, I'm gonna sell a house from this open. That is the reason why I'm there. But like you, there have been times where I'm like, God, I gotta do this freaking open. Really don't want to, the game's on, or I'm tired. I'm not gonna sell a house with that attitude. But if I'm like, yeah, I'm pumped up, I'm early, lights are on, you know, the heat is up, I'm feeling good, I'm ready for somebody to walk in and sell the house, then I'm gonna. It's
It's like
just,
pre-gaming, like you get
it's
ready for
total,
it.
it's total pre-gaming, it is. It's running through the plays in your head, like, I don't know if anyone plays sports here, but do you ever run through the plays in your head? Like, I play hockey, so I'm running through like me, you know, skating and shooting and scoring in my head. The same with doing the open
Shot to
house.
the client,
Yes.
knocking them out, signing.
Yes, exactly. Like
So
you're
the other
finishing
one
up
slapped
signing
on,
the
hit it
contract.
down, Bethany attacks.
So I guess, you know, that's what I would say. I think it's
Well,
really.
And what Shannon said is, you know, is true, because not to overcomplicate this, but you know, there's basically getting people to feel comfortable with you, because people work with people they trust. Like disarming, arming them, but the biggest way to usually do that is asking them questions, so, you know, they don't feel like they're being sold to, you know. If you're asking questions about what's important to you about moving, people go, oh, okay, your kids are in school, so I mean, asking the right questions really, like, I find it gets people to open up and start connecting with you, and that on top of if you can handle objections, you know, I think at one of the family reunions I went to a couple years ago, not the guy's name, was one of the big dogs said, you know, if one thing, any advice, he just said, you'll be good in real estate if you can handle objections. That's all you need to do. And so we script on our team a lot about objections, because there's 1,000 different objections, right? But at open houses, a lot of them are, you know, similar 5 they'll get. But if you can script around that and start to have those conversations and be able to handle them as you're asking questions, that will help quite a bit. And you know, the other thing I would say too is have that mindset of as well, of be energetic, be, you know, positive, all that. But remember this too, you know, sometimes people worry so much about the outcome. What do we have to lose, right? We might not ever see these people again. Come into your open house, you have this opportunity, you're trying to connect with them. But you know, sometimes people are scared to have to offend someone or get too pushy. And if you can sculpt that in a way that's more comfortable, who cares, right? You probably never see these people again. So
We don't count the open if you don't set an appointment. I mean, we do, but our conversion ratios that we track is for one open house, you should get 2 nurtures. For every 2 nurtures, you should get 1 appointment. So basically, you should get 2 nurtures. So the one that Jordan signed last night, bless him, this is how new he is. He didn't think he could bump up the heat in Rick Brahma's listing. So he sat in there freezing his butt off. And so did all his guests. And yet he still got an appointment out of it. And then from the 2 nurtures, you get 1 appointment. You go on 4 appointments, you should get 1 closing. Now his conversion ratio is actually higher than that right now, but these are stats that we got from the top 1% teams in the nation. And so that's what we built our business plan around. So we know for Jordan, I would just keep picking on him because he's the one that's doing a really good job on our team right now. We know that Jordan needs to go on 60 open houses this coming year in 2023 for him to get 15 closings from his open houses. So that's the conversion, because when we broke down his business plan, he's going to do 7 transactions roughly from his sphere, and then 15 from opens and 6 from internet leads, just based on his metrics.
So I have a question, because they don't know Jordan, right? Obviously, everyone up here has more of an outgoing personality. Is Jordan outgoing?
I could bring him in, he's down the hall, he's calling this morning. Jordan is a high S personality, and he's very, very outgoing, but not in like the boisterous, aggressive way. Very humble, just like the nicest guy you'll ever meet. But I think that's why people really like him, is they don't feel sold to. And he's very good at asking questions. And I would say, just to piggyback off of what he said about objections and scripting, if you ask enough of the right questions, I actually don't believe you get the objection. If you've built enough of a relationship with them and they feel like, wow, this person's invested in me getting a home or me, whatever their real estate goals are, I actually really feel like there's a lot less objections.
I asked that question because I think a lot of people are like, oh, I can't do it. I'm not very outgoing. I feel, I'm timid. I would say he's more opposite of you guys in regards to personality type, and he's been killing it at open houses.
I think the thing about open houses, wherever you're at in your career, you can go, it's the fastest way to get a sale of anything that we can do is to be in an open house. Because unlike anything else, right? We're putting up a sign and people are coming to us.
Yeah.
When do people ever come to us? We have to go to them. And so I just think,
So true.
I think it's just such a great tool. And if we could hold them, Monday through Friday from like 9 to 5 sometime, I would do a lot more of them. It's just a drag. It has to be on the weekend. It doesn't have to be, actually. It could be at night. But I just think that they're a huge tool that anybody can capitalize on. And I was going to suggest maybe we do some role playing or scripting on it.
Let's do it. Well, let's go through what you do first, and then we'll do some role playing scripting. Do you
Okay.
do anything, start to finish what your team does?
Well, so we will post our open houses, obviously on MLS and on social media. And then we door knock. So usually we will door knock like the day before, a couple days before. And the door knocking script is this, I go up to the door and I'll knock. And I was doing this, I've done this for a while, but when I've really gotten the numbers down, before COVID, it was about 10% of the people would answer. So I could do 60 doors in an hour. And so I probably talk to, it's about 10 to 15%. So maybe, 6 to 9 people would answer. So you're not really talking to a lot of people. So you can hammer through a lot of doors. And if they don't answer, you always leave a flyer. And it's an invite. And the invite is about the open house. I actually had somebody come down who did not answer the door. They got an invite, came to my open house and said, I got your invite. I want you to sell my house. So these are things that happen. You're spreading seeds all over.
Well, let's talk about, so you have your conversion rates for door knocking. Does anyone have a conversion rate for their calls? Because that's not that far off from calls in an hour. Right? Even if you're just hitting like circle prospect, do you know any for the ISA at all?
Not for the ISA, for myself, I know that if I talk to 15 people,
So
that's like in my sphere. Just
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fair. But like,
if you were cold calling in an hour, I'm guessing that's going to be about the same amount of people you talk to in an hour.
yeah, I don't
And
know.
maybe
I bet
less.
it's a better
Ever-
conversion
it's-
ratio.
In
Right,
person.
and they have
Yeah,
something
I would bet it's
of
better.
value, like they have whatever your flyer is as well.
Well, and here's the thing, like, I would rather door knock than cold call personally, because people are always nicer to your face than they are on the phone. It's true. Very rarely do I ever get anyone who is nasty. It happens on occasion. I've only had to like run like twice. I'm kidding.
Yeah,
What do
yeah.
you think of Shannon? So this is what I do. I'm gonna stand up and, because I
Yeah.
think it's important what I do physically too. But it's like, I'll go up to the door and I'll knock, and then
Do you
when
want me
they,
to be the person?
Physical person.
yeah,
Okay, I'll be the
Sure.
person. Do you want me to be your
yeah.
close the door?
Yeah, so I'll knock and then you'll come to the door and I'll hand you my flyer.
Okay.
I won't say anything, but I put it out there because if somebody puts something out there, you take it.
Like I did.
Yeah, and then I step back and I say, hey, I'm Shannon Fleur and I'm a realtor and I just listed your neighbor's house.
Great.
And I wanted to invite you to the open house on Sunday from 1 to 3.
Okay,
Come and take a look.
awesome.
Say, let me ask you, have you thought of making a move in the near future?
No.
No. How about have you, any of your neighbors that are going to, or anyone else that you might know?
No, there's an old lady down the street.
Okay.
I don't know if she's moving, but I've seen her daughter around a lot.
Okay. What house was that?
Oh, I don't know, 3, 4 down, that brown one down there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll take notes on this on my phone. And I'll say, okay, well, hey, by the way, what's your name?
Kami.
Oh, Kami.
What was your name again?
Shannon Fleur. I'm your neighborhood realtor. Yeah. So listen.
You came to my door.
It's very non-intimidating. It's very friendly. You have a very great tone.
Well, thank you.
It's not,
It's that, like, it's the downswing in it that is welcoming.
Well, because how much of communication is actually not what you're saying?
Right.
Did you notice what I did with my
It's
hands though? And she
physical.
kept doing this with her hands, like she did this and then she did.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
So, then I would say, hey, Kimi, I look forward to seeing you on Sunday. I'll be there from 1 to 3. Come take a look. Even if you're not moving, it's gonna give you a really good idea of what houses are going for right now in your neighborhood.
yeah, I think we're busy that day, but thank you for the invite.
Well, hey, listen, if you know anybody, send them down. We'd love to work with them.
Awesome, thanks Shannon.
All right. So that's kind of a little bit about, how I do the door knocking.
Would you you go? I mean, would you be intimidated by that?
I'll tell you what, we did an open house,
Dave, do you want to do yours? How do you do yours?
similar.
I mean, it's kind of like Shannon.
She probably sounds more friendly, I guess I would. probably say.
no,
Kind of a very likable, friendly,
I
you know.
I think you do too. I was thinking that actually on the way here, like, I feel like you're super approachable.
I mean, when we door knock, at least, we try to hit a lot of doors. So of course, if we see a queue where they, an opening, like a listing or buy, we'll go, but it's more about, ours are more about spreading all the flyers around, getting people to come. So it's not, it's very similar to what Shannon does, because it's not so salesy. It's more,
Do you go for the invite? Because I think there's a difference, right? Shannon's going for actually getting to know the person at that door at that moment, or anyone that could be in the neighborhood. Are you, when you say you're kind of trying to do it by numbers and spread it out, do you just say, hey, this is the, whatever?
it's an
it is?
invite. We call the same thing after, because we've had people that have said, like, do you see the sign that says no soliciting? Well, this isn't, we're actually, it's an invitation to a party. So we use a lot of the same language. It's more about just inviting them.
So it's more of an invite, not necessarily getting to know them at that point in time.
Yeah, I mean, asking a couple questions like Shannon did, right?
Okay.
Have you thought about how long you've been in the neighborhood? Have you thought about moving, Well, so just looking on cues, as far as, well, if it's just more of a friendly conversation, trying to get them to come down. But of course, if there's anything like, well, I've thought about it, well, that's a cue, right? Well, great, we would love, do you know what your house is worth? We would love to give you a free, valuation, so picking up on cues, if, a lot of those, for me, door knocking is a lot of, you can kind of tell right away. And if you can't change their attitude in a few questions, for me, at least go to the next, be pleasant, give them an invitation. But picking up on some of those key cues, have you been here? Have you thought about selling? Do you know anybody? Wouldn't you like to pick out your new neighbors? That kind of stuff.
Well, and I always ask if they said they're not thinking of a move, do you know anyone who is? Because I've also had that happen where they said, actually, I think our neighbors are going to sell. They had renters and they moved out. And I got the information. I called them and I listed that house. But I would have never contacted them because it was a rental. I would have never been able to make contact if I hadn't asked the neighbor if they knew of any of the neighbors. The other thing that I would say too is, especially like in my farm, so the house of ours that you sold that listing, we door knocked and it was in our neighborhood. We door knocked, so we have, I think, about 22 houses on our block. We had 11 neighbors come through. That's 50%. That's huge. But that was like a really short opportunity, like killing two birds with one stone, right? I'm picking up people who are coming through my open, but I'm also having that opportunity to network with my agent or with my neighbors.
You're the neighborhood realtor.
Yes.
I was gonna say, I don't know if you guys picked up on that piece. Saying that versus, I mean, because you probably say that no matter where you're door knocking, right?
Again, another self-imposed title.
I mean,
Right?
nobody asked where it came from.
Right.
The best neighborhood.
Yeah.
Really.
I usually say your favorite.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. She said something that just came to my mind just out of nowhere, but when you put it on the client sometimes too, it helps, it seems less intimidating, I'm the real neighborhood realtor, right? Or my clients ask me to go spread these around, invite people, it's sometimes, because I've had good luck door knocking, but we're all gonna run across people who are crabby, cranky, I've had someone who's on the phone and then tending like to talk, and then all of a sudden her phone rings, like, oh. So, I mean, you're gonna get everything, but as far as, I don't know where I was going with this. Oh, yeah, but it seems like it's another type of disarming when it's not, hey, I'm here. Do you know anybody? Hey, I'm here. Do you want to come to my party? Hey, take the I out of it more. Like my clients ask me, I do this for all my clients. They ask me to invite all the neighbors. Stuff like that helps just putting it on client.
Do you use that verbiage, like, we're having a party
Yeah.
instead of then an open house?
I try to bring that same energy. Like, hey, it's a party. Come, we're gonna have some,
Okay.
drinks, food, and get them excited because they probably get a lot of stuff.
See, that's what I think is valid. I think like the way that you came across is in a very caring tone. You're excited, but it's like inquisitive, right? And I would imagine yours being, oh, wow. No, but I imagine it being excited about a part. That's why I asked if that's your verbiage. Is it like, hey, I'm excited for this. Are you going to come with? Right? Is that how you portray in door knocking?
Yeah. I mean, try to, again, questions and just try to, create some humor, or just
Okay,
small energy.
got it. Anything else to add on kind of your system for your open houses?
I do think to Bethany said, but like it's in the follow-up. And I love what you're talking about with the agent on your team. What's it, Jordan? Like, I love how he's following up. I mean, I think that is critical. You have to stay on people. And when people say they have a realtor, just go right around that. Unless they say, my realtor is so-and-so and there was so-and-so and this is their phone number. Like,
Right.
I mean, like these people I was telling you about, they had a realtor but they weren't happy. And, so I think that I do it, we can make obstacles for ourselves or we can, keep pushing forward.
How fast do you follow up after the open house?
I think it's critical. I think following up that I do at the latest.
What does
Monday
what does
morning.
the follow-up look like for each of you on that?
So I think it's going to depend. Like I want to get enough information that I have a reason to follow up, right? So another thing that I will say about these buyers that I met at the open house and told them something, we started talking about the buy down. They didn't know anything about it. Nobody had talked to them about it. As much as we think, like, because we hear it all the time, a lot of people don't know what it is. Understand what that is, know how to calculate a payment for somebody. Super easy.
You brought up another thing of value. Like you said.
Exactly. Yep. And so we started talking about that, and that was kind of, I think, my shoe in. But so
The follow-up.
a follow up.
You said in the
Oh,
evening.
so I would follow up and say, maybe I might, hey, are you familiar with this property? We could go take a look at this tomorrow. And so I bring them a property. I would provide them with lender information, whatever it is that they were more curious about.
When you guys are taking notes or, in an open house, how are you doing that, right? Because if people are coming in, are you remembering this, jotting it down afterwards? If there's multiple people in, how are you kind of figuring that out, right? Because before there's a ton of people walking in.
Yeah.
How do you kind of manage that?
So for us, a lot of times I invite a lender with me.
Okay.
And we'll trade, we'll have the lender help, get on some script calls with us. But they're there a lot of times to sign people in, take notes. But a lot of times for myself, if I'm solo, I don't write notes. Back a few years ago when there was 50 people at every open house, couldn't do that. So we always would have 2 to 3 people at every open house. But for us at least, the lender signs people in. I'm usually in the house. And then, so getting the information, I don't know where I'm going with this, I guess, but as far as the follow-up goes for myself, I agree with Shannon. I think so I'll send out text messages to everybody that's saying it. So I kind of, when you guys said time block, if I'm doing an open from 12 to 2, I'll time block for about 11 to 3, to pick up balloons, of course, and to get there, to put them out, and then afterwards, follow up. Because, like anything, the longer you wait, every day you say you're going to call them, the less likelihood you're going to call them, because life happens, stuff happens. So,
Or Shannon called them already.
yeah, Shannon's already like.
I think that's a fair point though, right? Like they're not just coming into
Absolutely.
your open house.
They might
So
go to yeah, for sure, 100%. And that's the same thing with even setting an appointment. before I learn, I would set it maybe, okay, Thursday's the soonest they have open, shoot. They called me on Wednesday, so we met with another realtor, we met at an open house on Monday, signed. So when you set those appointments, I think it's important to set them as soon as you can. Because like you said, they are going to other open houses, right? So, so for me, my follow-up is to text them all as soon as I'm done. Hey, nice to meet you. If the ones I haven't already set the appointments for, those are already set and scheduled. And then I will call, it depends if I think of text or a call is more important. I'm a big proponent on phone calls over text messages, depending how that conversation went. So, but I will call them usually the next day. I don't see a need to wait for Monday. And then we'll keep following up with it. We have an ISA in our team, so we have to hand our house sheets in on Monday morning to the ISA. And then we write notes on there. Should she call them? Should Jillian call the clients or no? So I already made a contact with them. And on some of them that I haven't set appointments with, I put Jillian call in 1 week, which gives me an opportunity to keep following up to try to set it up.
Your solo agent, you can also do that in command. You don't need an ISA to do that, just to set your note, a week out. Wow. How about you?
Do follow up right away. I would say even sometimes during the open house. So meaning if someone, so Shannon had a great example is, if someone wants to go see something right away after, texting them, while you're still in the open house. Okay, well, I'm going to schedule these. Let me get your phone number and start that initial contact immediately. We, on our sign-in sheet, one of the things that we ask is we ask them if they're interested in off-market opportunities. And that increases how much information they give us. Let's shoot it straight. Do you have an insane influx of off-market opportunities? No. But we've also really, like this last year, I think we put 8 transactions together off-market. So we do heavy networking with other agents and calling other agents that, like, if I know that's Shannon's farm, I'm not going to go knock it, no offense, because Shannon probably already has, like, I know if I have a listing, like if I have a buyer that needs Maple Grove, first phone call I'm making is Carrie Schmidt because she dominates Maple Grove. Like, let's just cut to the chase. I'm trying to get my buyer a house, right? So building those relationships with agents, people want that. Like we are in the data age, right? The information age where people want consumption. So anytime you're offering them something that they can't just Google, they're immediately intrigued. We also do put our buyer packets out on the table, and I'm always surprised at how many people take them. So I think just, again, more information that's completely branded and has our name and our logo and everything all over it.
What are your buyer?
Yeah, what are your buyer packets?
They're like professionally printed packets that we designed. And it includes the different steps into purchasing a home. I believe purchasing a home is a 4-step process. Step 1 is the pre-approval. Like Shannon said, I actually believe one of the best scripts or some of the best things to know as a buyer's agent is to know lending programs. Like I always tell people, not a licensed loan officer, but I know enough to be dangerous. And that usually gets a chuckle out of someone, and then like they're willing to discuss with me. Because what are most buyers' hangups? Well, I don't have 20% down. You don't need 20% down. Well, I don't like the high interest rate. Well, what if we could get it lowered? Like, those are the reasons people aren't pulling the trigger. And to be frank, I think it's people that are aggressive that say, hey, do you want to go see a house right after our open house? And the people that say, hey, let's set an appointment for tomorrow at 2. They're going to actually take major advantage of the market as it shifts. Where I'm noticing people, and I'll be transparent, I even feel it in myself sometimes where I'm like, oh, the property is not in multiple. I have 2 hours. I can go grocery shopping before I write this offer, right? It's not this chaotic, stressful environment, but I want to make sure that like that's not causing us to be too lackadaisical, because I believe people that are aggressive will win in the market that we're headed into, or that we're in, honestly, right now.
Houses are still going though. Well, houses are going into multiples, like after they've been on for 30 days, so.
Well, why? Because they usually drop the price and then they go into multiples.
So what are your other, step 1 is pre-qual. What are the other steps you put in your?
Searching, I tell them there's 3 criteria to searching: price, condition, location. They get to pick 2. Most people are limited to price. Which other one matters the most to you? Doesn't intentionally rhyme, it just does. And then, from there, it's just honestly the like contingency, then it's submitting a strong offer. And then it's the process from when their offer is accepted to closing. We also have a cancellation guarantee in all of our buyer packets that I think reduces people's anxiety around signing the contract. It's only ever been used once with us. That was because my friend Taylor's brother-in-law became a licensed realtor, and she was like, this is gonna be really awkward at Thanksgiving. Okay, that's fine. I even share that with people. This has only been used once, and this is why. Because on that cancellation guarantee, it says what we're committing to, and on the reverse, it's actually what they commit to when they're working with us. Part of that is we want open communication from you. It does not hurt my feelings if you do not like the houses I show you, right? I love to say that to them because I also tell them that our goal is when we show them houses, because you're basically selling them on why to work with you, right? Like your pitch. And it's that we look at homes, and because we've seen hundreds and hundreds of homes, we know what to look for, so that we're almost doing a pre-inspection before they hire an inspector. I still want them to hire an inspector, but the inspector is not going to be the one that points out that the furnace is 30 years old. I would have already pointed that out. The inspector is not going to be the one that points out that the water heater was on its last leg, because I already found the date sticker on the water heater. Everyone on my team is trained to look for those things, because I don't want people, we don't have deals fall apart. And we actually put that in a cover sheet with our offers. Now I'm going down a tangent, but we put that in our offer cover sheet, why to accept an offer from our team. We put that, we point these things out, and we don't have deals fall apart during inspection. It helped us a lot when we were competing in multiple offers.
We have about 10 minutes. We could do questions or we could do scripting. Do you find value in having them doing some scripting around what an open house?
I think do you have a question?
Oh, yeah.
So in the case where, the Jordan did the open house for Brahma, is that different? Is the door knocking different, or is the process different since it's Brahma's listing?
Great question. So Jordan did not knock that one. And he and I had a conversation about it later. He goes, I didn't know if I felt comfortable doing that. I go, absolutely. But from now on, if it's someone else in the office's listing, we're just going to communicate in advance to them. This is our process. We want to sell your listing for top dollar. So here's our process and what we're going to do. And then if the agent has an issue, we can talk about it. I don't see why anyone would have an issue. The other thing that we do, just as an example, if we don't have a listing, Jordan's still finding them. Like the expectation is he does 1 to 2 a week right now. And so we have a follow-up form that we immediately, so before our agents leave the open house, they submit that follow-up form to the listing agent if it's not them. And if it's one of our listings, so say it's one of my listings and Jordan's holding it open, he sends that follow-up form not only to me, but he just copies the client because our ops team already gave them the email. And then that way, because that's the seller's biggest question when the open house is over, is how'd the open house go? So it includes how many groups came through, what was feedback, things like that.
I want to just elaborate on that a little bit more, because I'll never forget, a long time ago, kind of going to a panel like this, and someone said, these sellers prepare their house for this open house, and they're excited about it, and they're anticipating, and then they do the open house, they leave, and then they come back and they don't hear from anyone for like 24 hours. That is unacceptable in law. Like, you have to respond immediately.
Yeah.
Like, this is how the open house went. I had nobody, or get 3 groups through, nobody's interested, whatever that feedback is. I think that's critical.
We send it before you leave the house. Like, I agree. I think it's so disrespectful to a seller if you don't. And we want listing agents to keep wanting our agents to hold opens. So it's like, this is our team standard. So they know that that's what they can expect, whether they get Jordan, Kimberly, Kylie or me holding an open house.
How do you find open houses if your team doesn't have one? Because I think this is important. I've been in multiple offices where people will just put it on Facebook, right? Like, hey, I'm looking for an open. Awesome. That's step one. But Jordan does something completely different.
Well, you can only hold an open for your individual like brokerage. So when's the best time to hold an open house? 2. When are the 2 best times? Yeah. Okay.
Saturday afternoon, probably the best.
Sure. I'm probably not answering or asking the question correctly. When in the listing process is the best time to host an open house? When it's first listed. When's the next best time? Price adjustment. So what he does is he goes on the MLS. You can look up our office ID. You put the office ID in and he can see what coming soons or he sorts by days on market. Everyone on our team does this. Jordan just does it the best, honestly. Is coming soons are lowest days on market. If there's not something there, then you move to a price adjustment.
Great.
And so those are the 2 best times to do an open, and that's how he finds and then he reaches out. Because reality is a lot of people aren't holding open on their own listings. And so if they don't want to, he does.
They don't like to. A lot of
Well, and
people don't.
if you're calling the listing agent and saying, can I hold an open at your listing, that's a lot different than them going and trying to find someone. I mean, because people will come to, any of the TLs and say, hey, do you have anyone that holds opens? Great, we can say that, but he's going above and beyond. I mean, when he called Rick and Sherry immediately texted me and goes, who's this Jordan guy?
Mhm.
Because he called, he reached out, right? And he was like, hey, can I hold it open? And they asked that because no one else had done that for them.
I have to say this because it immediately makes me think about hockey again.
I do
Because-
that all the time.
Because seriously, like I say
Hockey and
this,
open house.
I say this all the time to the women that we play hockey with. We're all old. And we're not gonna improve a ton physically. We're old. But we can better our game mentally. If we play smart, we think ahead, not where the play is, where's the play going? That's what Jordan is doing. He is outsmarting everybody right now. And he doesn't have the experience, but he's being smart. He's thinking about
He's
it.
being proactive too.
He is.
I used to train new agents to do that when they first started in the business, when I was doing agent services. And 1 in 50 did it.
Well, the other thing you
Doesn't
can
have-
do is you can set yourself up on an MLS search for listings that pop on in your office. Like that's another opportunity so that you know. But the goal that he and I are working on right now, just gonna share it, is he goes, sometimes Bethany it's hard because I'll check on Monday to get an open for that weekend and he's like, sometimes I just don't feel like I have enough time because I was pushing him. Because right now what we're doing as a team is what's working and double down on that. Like I don't want to keep adding new crap that we're not sure if it works. What's working, double down. And so with him, I've been pushing him on circle prospecting. What if you called and then you knocked to the door and then you held the open? Like you already have an appointment, hold an open to an appointment conversion ratio. Like how can we get that higher? We just need to get more bodies in his opens is really where we're at right now. And he goes, I don't have enough time if I only have, 2 or 3 days. And I go, we need to find them before they're on the MLS. So what was going to happen this coming week is he and I have been working on an email that's going to go out to every agent in our office that says, we're looking for when you sign a listing contract, if you know the date, we would love to schedule in advance so we can help market that for you and hold that open house. Here's our system. This is what you can expect. Because he's feeling like for us to increase conversion, we need more time. And that just means that we need more lead time so he can prepare.
And here's a really silly question. Sign. Do you put a rider on your sign in front that says open house, this date and time? And then how many signs do you put out the day of the
Every agent on our team has 15 signs that they carry at all times. So it's a minimum of 15.
Yeah, we do riders as well. I don't know if we do directionals, we probably do 10. No, it varies
But those are out prior to the,
prior to the open house, yeah. And so I think on Thursdays or Jake will go stomp all the directional signs, hang the rider a couple days early on the open house. Roughly, I think anywhere from, depending on the location, 8 to 15, right in that range.
You put balloons on all those?
Not always, no. I try to mainly get them for sure on the house, but then busy roads as we come in. There's a busy intersection, but more like when you're getting closer to the house.
Yeah, I would say we probably do like 8, not a ton. But I think that it can't hurt to do, for sure.
Okay, any other questions?
Are any of you guys on, do you guys regularly script at all with anyone? Are you guys on script practices? Right now?
Well, I think the thing that I think is so important about scripting is scripting brings confidence.
Yeah.
It brings confidence for me. I will say that about myself. So when I script before I'm doing an open house or calling, we were just talking about this. It is transformative in my attitude and how I show up.
Who do you script with?
Well, we've started doing, I'm on the ALC at our office, and we've started doing a calling on, Wednesdays from 9 to 11. And then we show up at 8:30 to script before that.
We script Wednesday. It used to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Right now it's Wednesday, Friday, 8 a.m. to 8. That's on our team. Graham Smith. And every time we'll bring up a new idea. Today, let's do all open house objective. Next day, it might be for sale by owners. But where it's helped, she's exactly right. It helps with confidence. And when I started scripting a long time ago, like most people, I hated it. I thought this was robotic. It doesn't come out the right way, but I put the time in and stayed. And after a year or so, I mean, it gets ingrained in you, just becomes internalized until you're saying the word. You know, I remember one point I was like, holy I sang the script. I don't have to not memorize. It actually sounded normal. So that's, you put the time in, it does pay off.
Or it's that moment when you like say it, it comes out and you're like, huh, that worked. How about you?
We do a call every morning that involves setting our goals for the day. And then like today, they're all calling for our 12th class that's coming up. And so then we review the script for that. So it really depends on what we have coming up. We need to be better about script practice though. We don't do it as consistently as we want to.
Awesome. Well, that's time. Let's just go through names one more time in case anybody wants to contact you and what office you're out of.
Shannon Blood,
Shannon Florida out of the Minneapolis office.
Dave Bielke out of the state of Minneapolis, wakes up.
Bethany Nelson out of this office.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Well done. That was on your sign in.
Yeah.